little late. The information came earlier, so it should have been filed earlier, that kind of thing. Let's see. Then she said, if there's been violations, statements of government witnesses, then information about statements government witnesses have made doesn't need to come in until after they've been a witness, which is kind of an interesting thing. So then she says, do we strike their testimony, do we recall the witness, or do we declare a mistrial? And then she said, and then we need to discuss double jeopardy, or do we need to attach double jeopardy?
That's very interesting.
That was,
discussing double jeopardy.
Yeah, she brought that right out. Yeah, everybody's ears kind of perked up. She mentioned something about a motion that Ammon made. I thought the name that she said was Wendy Collins. I'm not sure of that. And then something about her name being exposed and the other information that came out in that. And she says the name itself doesn't fall under this Brady ruling, but the information may. So there's one of the Brady rulings that maybe has been broken, or whatever you call that.
Yeah, violation.
Yeah, violation of the Brady thing. And then Ryan Payne's motion about the surveillance cameras, because, you know, they said that the defendants made false statements to bring all these people to Bunkerville.
Is that Ryan Bundy, though? Or not Ryan?
No, this was Ryan.
Ryan, okay.
Because that's when Ryan. They're saying Ryan made false statements to bring the militia to Bunkerville.
Okay.
And so now, of course, the information has come out that there were surveillance cameras, and so he said, you know, those weren't false statements, right?
And there were snipers also.
And there were snipers. That's come out. So they were not making any false statements. All this has come out, and I mean, the government's looking really bad in my eyes, and to a lot of people that I know of. And from watching the jury's getting it too. You know, that things have been hidden and lied about. So, let's see. She went on and mentioned the existence of the National Park Service and FBI teams, the organizational chart. These are all things that bring in information that's different than the story the government has tried to create. And this was interesting. She said that the government is claiming that there was no action taken by the FBI, and I thought, they were there. Isn't that taking an action? They were filming. I mean, there was obvious, and the FBI investigators are sitting right there behind the prosecuting attorney. So the FBI has some involvement there. They must have taken some kind of action.
Well, they weren't shooting at him.
They weren't shooting at him. Oh, well, thank you, FBI. Yeah. So and then she mentioned these 302 reports, and I haven't looked into those. But the defense is asking for the information in those reports. The government response was that there's no documents provided on any cameras. There's, you know, they're constantly saying there's no recorded information here, there, everywhere, whether it's video recording, audio recording, written recording. Stuff just hasn't been recorded. Well, then you find out that it has been. That's happened several times. Okay, and then this Special Agent Gavin, who's sitting in that courtroom every day behind the prosecuting attorney, FBI investigator, apparently she just filed some kind of report. And, you know, the judge says, well, the report just came out, but the information in it, you know, should have been provided sooner, because the information that it contains is stuff that happened long before, and it should have come out. So, let's see, that was there was 2 or 3 of those 302 reports, maybe 4, that she spoke about that contain this information that they've just been provided, the reports, but the information contained in them was something that should have come out long ago. And then she mentioned the BAU threat assessment again, which, you know, there was no threat assessments done. That was the original story, and then we find out there were several threat assessments, and the one threat assessment pertained to before when the first roundup was ordered, and then that never took place, and so people are going, so that doesn't matter. The thing is, the second roundup, now there's been information come out that they took into account that first threat assessment. So there's information there that's also beneficial to the defense. And that's what it seems like has been happening, did happen, in the first trials and is happening again. They want to keep out anything that's beneficial to the defense, which goes over my head. I don't know how that works.
So it's not about justice.
It's not about justice.
Just us.
Yeah. These were counterterrorism threat assessments. They were untimely in info that could be this Giglio, and what is that one? I get them confused. There's Brady, Giglio, and Jenks. One is untimely, one is, I think, exculpatory stuff. Anyway, all these court terms, I need time to think them through so that I could recall them. I just hurried and wrote these notes down and put them down. So there was a Nevada Joint Terrorism Task Force that apparently did an assessment, and there was a meeting between several people. This was in March of 2014. March 6th is the date I jotted down. Between several people who referenced the prior report that's not been found yet. Nobody knows what happened to this one missing report.
Did they happen to mention any names attached to those particular reports? But they did say Southern Nevada Domestic Terrorism Task Force.
Nevada Joint Terrorism Task Force. And what the government is claiming is that they weren't aware that the defense would use entrapment as a defense. So that's why they didn't give them that information. I'm like, if there was entrapment, they would want to use that, or even if they thought that. Anyway, that was kind of interesting. I don't know. Let's see, something about an email. Wondering if this task force report was included in some email. Now, again, a lot of this was veiled because it's going to be discussed in this sealed hearing, and they don't want the general public having the information. So a lot of this is just the judge. This was all from the judge, and she just kind of had to veil everything. She couldn't name names, she couldn't bring out details, and so this was all general information that we're allowed to hear, just us common folks. So that's why it's a little sketchy to me, because that the defense attorneys, the prosecution, they all knew exactly what she was referring to.
Sure.
But the rest of us just kind of have to guess on some of it. One of the things that the judge always asks that just kind of boggles my mind is, she says, how is that key to your defense? Like, she doesn't know how that could help the defendants. And I mean, it's usually stuff to me that seems very obvious. So,
and it's really none of her business. That's not her job.
It was, my understanding of a courtroom is this side comes in and tells their story and presents all their evidence. The other side tells their story and presents all the evidence. And then the jury decides who's lying.
Yes.
And that's not what's happening. This side doesn't get to tell their story at all. And I'm doing it right because that's where we sit, behind the defendants on the right in the courtroom. So anyway, that's what she asked. Something about this Nevada Joint Terrorism Task Force and the request for the camera to be put in place. These are surveillance cameras. And she said, how is that key to the defense? Anyway, so that was just a question. She didn't actually ask that of them. That was just in her speaking that she said that was a question that she had. Now, something about a risk assessment. The defense says it speaks to the strategic plan. Let's see. Threat assessment. This just went on and on. She mentioned all these motions. Payne's motion to dismiss because of the BLM OLES threat assessment. It's useful to the cross of Stover, Agent Stover from the BLM. And so it was untimely provided. She did say that. And that's the Giglio portion. It was untimely provided. It should have been provided sooner. A map. There's a map floating around that apparently the defense has not been given yet that shows the LPOP locations. I can't remember what that stands for. Anyway, that was, I think, if it comes right down to it, I think that's the snipers, LPOP locations, because they think that that would show that the Bundy home was surrounded by those guys up on the hill, the snipers. And when was the map created? Those kind of things haven't come out. And then she went through 11, let me get my numbers here, page 7, 11, 12, 13, 14 items that she said were supposed to have been presented, given to the defense, but she doesn't know if they have been yet or not. emails and related things ordered by the court. She ordered them delivered to the defense, and some of that involves Dan Love. The reports from 4/11, 2017, and 4/12 of phone calls that were made. And that might have been, actually I might have written the wrong date, that might have been 4/11, 4/12 of 2014. I'm not sure. The names of individuals who prepared this log. This item came up about some log that was prepared and information that's in that log that they need. And so she wants the name of the individual who prepared that. That's number 3. Number 4, reports regarding the insertion of snipers and the deployment of snipers and their involvement in Dave's arrest. Dave was the one that had his iPad out and was taking pictures. He was on the side of the road, public access, and they knocked him down and arrested him. The government, of course, says those were not actually snipers, so that's not relevant. Number 5, the names of individuals of the FBI SWAT teams and any reports that they made. These are all things that haven't come out yet. Isn't that strange? Number 6, logs and reports kept by the FBI operations base. Number 7, names of individuals who prepared a PowerPoint. And I didn't get the information on that PowerPoint. She went on with something about it, but I didn't get that information. So some PowerPoints. Number 8, an OIG report or their findings that refers to the BLM being reprimanded for not enforcing the court order before 2014. And that there might need to be an evidentiary hearing of the person who mentioned that report. Number 9, something about information of the night ops. Number 10, info of other BLM agents. Again, that one. She doesn't speak real clearly, and so I didn't get everything. Number 11, something about Special Agent Swanson and the assignment of agents. Number 12, any interviews. And again, I don't know what interview she's referring to. Maybe investigative interviews that were done, because we did just find out in the last time we were in court of interviews that were done, investigative interviews. Number 13, reports of dates of the individuals. Let's see, reports and dates. Oh, information about the individuals involved in the closure of those thousands and thousands of acres that were closed off. And number 14 was the reports of the rapid response unit. So there's 14 items that the judge said she isn't aware of if they've been turned over yet, and they should be. And so the sealed hearing is partially about all of this, and then about other things that we've heard some rumors about that will be very interesting to see what they decide in court today and where it goes from here.
You were in the court this whole time?
I've been here almost every day since this trial started. I was here for a little bit of the last trial.
What was your name?
Wendy.
Wendy.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, thanks, Wendy.
Yeah, I talk fast. I hope they got that.
Well, yeah, everybody was thanking you over and over. So,
Oh, thanks.
And somebody said you take really good notes.
Yeah, I try. I write really fast, and as you can see, it takes me hours when I get home to actually type them up and remember, what that particular note meant and what it was about. But
Well,
I
you're
wished I'd learned
talented.
shorthand.
Better than I can do, that's for sure.
I'm not that organized either.
Oh, I couldn't do it.
Well, it needs to be out there. People need to know. So,
Well, thanks,
Thanks.
Wendy.
yep.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
Well,
And I
that's a
hate
wrap.
being on camera.
So do I. That's why I'm on this side.
So I'm on this side.
Later, people. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to show you the new stuff that we got going here. Alrighty. Oh, there's Josh. And anyway, we got some newfangled stuff over here. This is old stuff here, but we got all the signs put up today, so I'm kind of happy. I bought these connectors. They won't let us attach anything to any of the government stuff. So these are kind of freestanding. Got these little dilly bobs here to attach it. You can see it right here. And so they can see it. You can see it going this way. And then right here. Now this works good with no wind. The wind picks up, we'll just have to take it down. Well, I guess that's a wrap.
And he's being transported. He's being held in Pahrump at CCA, and so he's just to come to court and back is 10 hours of transport. And when they transport you, they have you in leg irons. They have your belly chain. You have your hand with your hands cuffed to the belly chain, and then they put a black box in between the cuffs, so you can't even move your wrist. And he's being transported that way from about 3 in the morning till court starts, and then after he has to go back and do the same thing. So I did it for 2 months, a little over 2 months, back and forth from Pahrump, and it's difficult to do, but he's strong.
Is this all worth it?
Absolutely is it worth it. It's easy for me to say that now that I'm out, but I mean, for what we're fighting for is these to maintain these principles of freedom that have built up this country. That the whole reason why we have our freedom in the first place. That's what we're defending. We're not defending whether we get to eat the grass on public land. That's part of it, but we're defending the rights and the liberties of the people, and not of just this country, but of all countries that are influenced by the United States, or that have used the United States as an example. That's what we're standing for, and that's what this truly means, and that's why it's a big deal.
You feel like that was a setup from the start? Looks like a lot of things line up to where they're just trying to take the land and move people off the public domain, and there's a question of what's owned, that the grass and the water, and it's separate, like a miner would own the minerals in the ground.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've heard me say this before. I haven't said it in front of the cameras for a long time, but all wealth comes from the earth. All wealth derives from the earth, from the land and the resources. I mean, the clothes that we wear, the food that we eat, the buildings we build, the cars we drive, the phones, the cameras, all of that came from the earth. And if you can control what comes out of the earth, you can control everything and control the people. They understand this. They have literally become modern day conquerors and removing the people who have rights to the land off so that they can claim it for themselves. There's a natural law that if you want to maintain your rights, or if you want to take them from somebody else, that you have to claim them for yourself, you have to use them for yourself and beneficially use them, and you have to defend them. And they have done that to us. And the only way that for us to get our rights and maintain our rights and to get them back is to do the same thing. We have to claim them, we have to use them, and we have to defend them. And my family has been claiming and using those rights for 141 years on January 7th. On January 7th, my family has claimed those rights for 141 years. And we now, and we have been for many, many years, defending them. And we're going to continue to defend them. And right now, those cattle are out on the range that are our rights to be out there. They're out there using them, and we will continue to do that. We'll continue to claim them, use them, and defend them.
So how come the sheriff didn't stand up for you?
He I don't really have a huge problem with the sheriff's department here. They eventually did what was right.
They said they found no crime.
Well, they eventually.
Sheriff Joe Lombardo.
But
now.
if you go to the videos, you'll see we came to the fence, we peacefully assembled, and then what did the sheriff do? The sheriff took over. He applied his authority that the people gave him. He demanded that the BLM leave, and then he escorted us into their compound, escorted us while we retrieved the animals and brought them back to the ranch. And that's a beautiful example of the power that a sheriff has to defend the people's rights. But I will say this, the sheriff, if the people aren't willing to defend their own rights, how can you ask the sheriff to defend them? And I'll end with that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
My baby conceived and got the message. He's got to have the message, and I'll give him your message.
There you go.
Ammon. Thank you. And I'll give him the message Ammon gave me. So he'll want to know, did you see the papers?
Let me find that out.
So you're going to be doing a live feed here in a little bit, John?
Yep, fixing to here in just a few minutes. I'm gonna let it
Okay.
cool down a little bit down here.
All right. So you guys want the scoop from John? He'll be doing a live feed here in a little bit. And I'm going to wrap it up.
Oh, they just do this to spin us off.
I'm going to shut this off real quick.
All right, people. Later.